Just to give you guys an update, Mike Palinaki is joining me. As you know, Mike's responsible for our operations. All of our crews are ready. Every piece of equipment that's available has been recruited by our operations department, ready to be put on the street. As you know by now, a lot of people have been talking and discussing and certainly pointing to the fact that the storm of the century, as Gino Conte dubs it, is arriving. We are expecting a significant storm, a storm that is going to drop 3 to 5 centimeters per hour. Beginning tomorrow night and going through Thursday. So good thing is we've been tested in this region before. We're not going to be caught off guard. Our operations are ready. Our operations team, together with emergency services, will be meeting tomorrow at the EOC, and they'll just be planning certain accesses and egresses to certain areas. As you can appreciate, the main streets are going to be the primary focus, and then after the main streets, they'll probably get into the side streets. Depending on the severity of the storm, that's probably going to be sometime late Thursday, Friday, but that changes, right?
As early as Wednesday evening, depends on the conditions that prevail during that storm. So we expect to be done within 3 or 4 hours after the storm ends, and we're monitoring all the radars and weather conditions throughout the region to see what the intensity and duration of that storm is. One of the conditions that's going to be prevalent is blowing snow, and that's always problematic because you can drive by and clear a section of the road and it may be blown in. Things like Riverside Drive, open areas will be problematic, but we'll be addressing those on an individual basis.
One of the things that we've always found out to be a challenge is the side streets and people parking their vehicles. So once again, we're asking people not to park their vehicles on the side streets. If you've got a driveway, if you've got a garage, this is a good time to make use of it. As easy, as accessible as we can make the roads, the quicker that we can get the roads cleaned and get the snow pushed out of the way and make life as livable as possible. Understanding that's a problem for people in the core area, they're going to be looking at this, but I'm sure that it's going to be something that we're going to implement. We're going to open up all of our lots, all of our surface parking lots, all of our community center lots. Are you deciding the parking garages yet too?
Parking garages will be open to Wednesday, probably and Thursday.
So we're going to give people a chance to park their cars in those facilities, and that way keep the side streets clear, allow the crews to do their operations and get the work done. It's going to take a lot of patience. Earlier discussions today with some of our officials are suggesting that if you don't have a reason to be out, that's a good reason to stay home. This is probably one of those times that if the storm does hit with the level of severity and intensity that is predicted, it's probably a good opportunity to stay home. Don't go out there and shovel. If you just wait. We don't want anybody hurting themselves or straining themselves. This is a severe storm. This is not going to be a mild storm, and by all indications, it's going to be here for a couple of days. So it's going to take some patience. We'll get through it like we always do, and we'll do the best to get the roads and areas cleared as best as we can.
Will it be free of charge?
Yes, parking will be free of charge.
See, I was going to use the revenue to pay off our snow removal.
The other thing we're working with the emergency services, if there's an emergency call for medical help, we'll be dispatching a snowplow with the ambulance to local residential streets where the call comes from, so people don't need to fear about having access to these emergency services.
And that's exactly what they're doing tomorrow at the EOC. They're actually planning, making sure they're going over their plans, that emergency services have access to different areas of the city, and that's a level of planning that you probably don't see on an everyday basis, but that's what they do, and they're just getting ready for the storm. Okay?
How many pieces of equipment do you have, Mike?
Well, we'll probably by tomorrow night we'll have 40 to 50 pieces of equipment. Right now our staff is trying to get a hold of every contractor with every grader and every backhoe that's available at our disposal.
When you talk about pieces of equipment, do you mean actual snowplows, or are you talking about one of the sidewalks, sanders? Or?
No, there's 23 large tandem trucks that are part of our contract. We have half a dozen or so baby salters, and on top of that we'll be engaging graders and backhoes for clearing some of the windrows at the local streets prior to going into the residential streets. So one of the biggest problems will be the big piles of snow that obviously we don't remove the snow, we can only push it aside. And we'll be trying to clear all of the intersections as quickly as possible.
Did you say you could get to the side streets as early as Wednesday night?
That depends on the severity. Usually it takes about 4 to 5 hours after the storm ends before we can begin the residential street process.
Okay.